this meeting to order. And Stephanie, can we please get roll call?
Sure. Commissioner Ali,
Present.
Commissioner Dillard,
Present.
Commissioner Gathawa, Commissioner Harris,
Here.
Commissioner Johnson,
Here.
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 I can't hear anything. If my name is being called, I'm here.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I think it was just where I was holding my mic. Sorry.
All right. And with that, so we do have the land acknowledgement next with agenda item number 3. Just wanted to say, because Commissioners Novus and Commissioner Rivera were the main leads on this one, I would like to give either of you the honor of doing it for the first official time. This last time kind of was unofficial.
I'd like to give that honor to Commissioner Rivera, who started this project, if that's what they would prefer.
Sounds good. We meet today in the community of Iowa City, which now occupies the homelands of Native American nations to whom we owe our commitment and dedication. The area of Iowa City was within the homelands of the Iowa, Meskwaki, and Sauk. And because history is complex and time goes far back beyond memory, we also acknowledge the ancient connections of many other indigenous peoples here. The history of broken treaties and forced removal that dispossessed indigenous peoples of their homelands was and is an act of colonization and genocide that we cannot erase. We implore the Iowa City community to commit to understanding and addressing these injustices as we work toward equity, restoration, and reparations.
Thank you. Next, we do have the approval of the meeting minutes from the July 22nd, 2021 meeting date. Does anyone have any questions on anything in there or anything that needs to be changed? All right. Doesn't sound like it. In that case, I would like to put forward a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the July 22nd meeting.
Rivera, second.
Any further discussion? Okay, Commissioner Ali,
Yes.
Commissioner Dillard,
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Commissioner Novus,
Abstain.
Commissioner Rivera,
Yes.
and Commissioner Traore.
Yes. We are now on to agenda item number 5, which is public comment of items not on the agenda. So commentators shall address the TRC for no more than 5 minutes, and commissioners shall not engage in discussion with the public concerning said items. We do have a member of the public here with us in the in-person meeting, and we do have a few in the virtual setting as well. Okay. Do we have anyone attending virtually that would like to make any comments? If so, please raise your hand and we will give you time to speak. All right, I'm not seeing any hands raised at the moment, so we will move on to agenda item number 6, which is the joint recommendation with the Human Rights Commission to City Council on the use of the land acknowledgement. And I just want to hand this off as well to Commissioner Rivera, because I know you've been doing a lot of work alongside the commission.
Before I provide some updates about where we are and make the recommendation as what I'd like to see move forward, can I open up to public comment?
Yes.
If there's anyone in the public or the audience here today, if they would like to make a comment regarding the land acknowledgement or a recommendation to City Council, please raise your hand. And seeing none, well, I appreciate us just having opportunity to talk about this. I think I attended the last Human Rights Commission meeting and they were very enthusiastic to see the progress that was made on the land acknowledgement, and they did make a motion to approve it for their use as well. And so as of the last Human Rights Commission meeting in this, we have formally adopted the land acknowledgement as present in the packet. What followed their motion to approve the land acknowledgement was discussion about whether we as two commissions can make a joint recommendation to City Council so that they use this land acknowledgement as well, and also then from City Council pass it along to all of the other boards and commissions so that they can adopt it as well. They did make that motion and voted on it and approved it. And again, that's pending our sort of joining in on that recommendation. So all it would be us making a motion saying yes, that we would like to recommend that to City Council. And then the last piece of this before we have more discussion would be for there to be a small working group made up of members of both the Human Rights Commission and the Truth and Reconciliation Commission to explore Indigenous issues further as a point of topic, and so that we can really make sure that our commitment doesn't just stop with land acknowledgement and that we go much further. So I welcome discussion or questions from any members of the commission before I'd like to make a motion.
I just want to say quickly as well, we do have Commissioner Gathwa to promote to a panelist.
And Commissioner Gathua was at the Human Rights Commission meeting as well. So if she'd like to make any comments, I invite her to do so. All right. Well, first, I'd like to ask a question. Would anyone be willing to join a working group on Indigenous issues with the Human Rights Commission?
I would be interested in doing so.
I would as well. This is Sakawa speaking.
If anyone else would like to volunteer at a later time, we would have one more that would be allowable to, which would be sub quorum. So feel free to reach out to me anytime. But I'll go ahead and make a motion that we make a joint recommendation to City Council alongside the Human Rights Commission that they adopt our land acknowledgement, and then also pass that along to other city boards and commissions. Can I get a second?
This is Commissioner Ali. I want to second that motion.
Can we please get roll call, Stephanie?
Sure. Commissioner Ali,
Yes.
Commissioner Dillard,
Yes.
Commissioner Gathua,
Yes.
Commissioner Harris,
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
and Commissioner, do you prefer for me to say Commissioner Nobis or Commissioner Sakawas?
Nobis is fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Nobis,
Yes.
Commissioner Rivera,
Yes.
and Commissioner Traore.
Yes.
Motion passes 8-0.
Stephanie, I wanted to ask as well if, so with the way that this item is written for the agenda, is there room to talk about, so there came to my attention that, well, came to Commissioner Nova's attention as well, that there was a bit of a response to this, or a bit of a backlash to the actual recommendation.
And you want to discuss that?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's fine. under the agenda item.
Okay. I want to just quickly preface this and then give Commissioner Novus opportunity to speak on it a little more. But apparently there is some group with the title of something like the Republicans of Johnson County that was upset about the language that is in this land acknowledgement, particularly about the word on reparations. And I do want to say that I remember prior to this being submitted, Commissioner Novus did ask me if I had any issues with that word being in there. And what I said at that time was that I have zero issues with it being in there, and I would like for it to be in there as well. And in terms of that group, they can come and speak at a commission meeting if they'd like to say anything on it. But we did deliberate on this for months as well, so there were multiple opportunities to do so. And in terms of their interpretation of reparations, I mean, once again, unless it is said publicly, unless it is said to us, wouldn't have known about this if it hadn't been brought to the media and then brought to a member of the commission. So once again, I think that's very important that if people have something against anything that's done in these meetings, or if they have anything to say on an agenda item, it's important that it's actually said to the commission. This is difficult to just be searching for these things constantly. And that's not what I think anyone on here wants to continually be doing. I'm more interested in those that are regularly participating or trying to participate or speaking to us than little outbursts to, someone in the media and some statement without even truly trying to understand where we're coming from. And with that, I yield the floor.
Yeah, I can add a little bit to it. I agree as well. Everybody doesn't agree on everything, and people have disagreements. And my message is, it's just my own personal message. You can show up to these meetings, you can talk to us, you can engage with us, and everybody's not going to agree on everything. So, just the way going around and putting stuff in the media, that's not the way to have a good discussion with people about an issue that you might disagree with. With that, I yield the floor.
I don't know if anybody, I don't even, should we even talk about it? I mean, like, is it even, it's racist and it's ignorance, and I don't know if it deserves our response.
Yeah, I'm not particularly interested in giving like a full written out response to it, because again, that just kind of sets a precedent of anything and everything that's just said out of turn is going to be responded to, and don't want to just continually be searching for these things online, because that's all this time taken out of our days. It's more productive for it to be said to us in a meeting, or for the person to call us or email us and let us know how they're feeling, so we can actually address it and try to have that conversation, try to have that deeper conversation if they're willing to do so. But yeah, if it's just going to be these off the cuff things, then it doesn't really leave room for it. So just kind of just ratchets up the temperature if we're looking to just do a statement every time.
Yeah.
And I think if you're going to continue to discuss, I mean, you have to talk about it in relation to the agenda item.
Okay.
Which is the recommendation with the Human Rights Commission, the City Council on the land.
Well, it is in relation to it, because they're asking the mayor to reject the land acknowledgement.
Okay.
That's basically the request. And I'll just answer with this one statement, that treaties are the supreme law of the land, and every U.S. citizen is beholden to treaty law. And every single treaty has been broken in the U.S. Therefore, these treaties that they're talking about are actually, there's a lot of issues with them. So that's really the only answer I have concerning that. And that people need to get educated The talking about reparations does not mean that people's land are literally going to be taken out from away from them the way our land was stolen. We're not going to return the favor. That's basically the answer I have for that.
I'll just add my voice. This is Commissioner Gadwa, and I just jumped in because I don't seem to have the feature today for raising my hand. I just want to add my voice to Commissioner Nobis and Commissioner Triori that we want to be responding to things that are brought directly to us. And I defer to Commissioner Nobis because for now, she is the commissioner's expert on the area of land acknowledgement, the authentic one. Thank you. I'll leave it there and I yield the floor.
Commissioner Rivera, I appreciate everyone's comments and voices and their sort of defense of not only this commission, but also the land acknowledgement. I'm still very enthusiastic and in support of the acknowledgement as it's been written and worked on by numerous people. I still am so thankful for everyone who's had their fingerprints on the acknowledgement. I stand by every word and including the word reparations. I'm still, as a person on this commission, as an advocate within this community, still trying to wrap my brain around what reparations would mean, right, for not only Indigenous people, but for Black people as well. And I hope that I continue to learn on this so that, we're not as a commission as reactive towards words or concepts, but that we're really just engaging with this topic so that we can move forward and make really strong ongoing recommendations to City Council. I'm hoping that through the work of the working group that Commissioner Nobis and Commissioner Traore and Commissioner Lindley from the HRC have volunteered to be a part of, that we can come up with examples of what reparations mean so that we can, still respond to concerned members of our community so that we can give them a really good idea of what we mean when we talk about these words, right? Because we don't want them to be left in the dark. But again, I stand by this statement and I'm glad that it's gotten to this point. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd really have to agree with that as well. I think that's a very good way to move forward. Does anyone else on the commission have anything they would like to say on this item?
This is Commissioner Johnson. I honestly, I agree. I feel like if we're going to discuss it, let's discuss it. If not, then we have other things that we have to move on to. That's pretty much where I'm at. So.
And this is Commissioner Harris. I just add, just so it's known and it can just be out there. There's always a room for a public comment. So going to media and throwing rocks and hat in your hand, it's not the right way to go. I'm up for a discussion about it anytime.
Okay, and in that case, we are now on to agenda item number 7, which is the discussion on submission for the TRC facilitator. And I just want to check in terms of how much can we say on this, Stephanie?
In terms that you got to be a little more specific.
I just want to make sure, because I remember there was a stipulation, like if we had to have a certain number of the scores in, or if we kind of have an update on what the average score is at this time before we continue.
I mean, I think you can have a discussion amongst yourself on the submission, but ultimately each of you will have to evaluate the submission in your, on your own independently. And then if those scores are at 80%, then it would go on to the next step, which would be presentation kind of / interview.
I just want to share one thing from when I had reviewed it. I did appreciate the amount of effort that was put into it and how well it was broken down, as well as seeing the name of Eduardo Gonzalez on there for someone that would be advising. I did notice as well how Dr. Larry Schooler, I'm not sure how it's said, that he has done a lot of work like this in the past, and that he's currently engaging with the community in Elgin, Illinois on something such as this. I do actually know some people in that community and some that had applied for their community task force. So did have some conversations with them to kind of ask them about their process with that and how it had been going and try to get a little more background. And at this time, it seems to me that if we are to end up having a good enough score to have that submission go to the next level, I think it'd be a situation where I'd want to at least meet Dr. Schooler and the people involved, just to get a little bit more of a baseline of what they're looking to do. And also, I think it's just important that we continue a little bit more of the discussion on the submission in the next meeting, just because of the amount that was proposed. It seems that City Council, with the budget and what we had actually allocated for this position, that it would actually end up going over that. And there are just some things that City Council wanted to know a little more on in terms of how we're going to spend the money. So if that's going to go over the current budget that we do have, it looks like it would take the vast majority of the budget that we currently do have, then it's likely something we'll want on that work session agenda.
This is Commissioner Ali speaking. I think that we should aim as the budget committee to meet with everyone within the next week to talk about this facilitator proposal. And then I think that we should come with an update at the next meeting. I'm, and correct me if I'm wrong, Stephanie, wasn't there a due date for the scale rating thing, the evaluation, or was there not a due date for that?
There was an original due date of tomorrow, August 6th. At the last TRC meeting, the group decided to move that to Monday of this week at the latest. The person who you're sending the information to, I know, is out of the office Thursday, Friday, but from my knowledge, I believe only 3 have been returned that I'm aware of.
Okay. So can we aim to, if you haven't turned yours in yet, try to do it by the Sunday, I guess, before this person is back? Would it be they'd be back on Monday? Okay, is that okay to do it at that date? Do you think?
I would say it's preferable to have it by Friday,
Okay,
the original due date.
yeah, by tomorrow. So by some point tomorrow, if the rest of us that haven't done this, if we can get that done, and then we can kind of all talk about it as a group and touch base next week. And then I think the budget committee could meet via Zoom or whatever and kind of regroup and decide from there on what we should do with the budget, especially because of what Mohammed said, what they're asking for would put us at over the budget.
This is Commissioner Dillard. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm just I'm feeling like we should be a little bit more urgent. It's really apparent and clear from reading the proposal that we could really get a lot done if we get this facilitator situation figured out. So I don't know if we can call it an emergency meeting or something so we can really deliberate this before the work session, because that does fall before our next meeting. I just really feel like we should push this forward a little bit faster.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with the sense of urgency before the August 17th work session. I don't know what the rules are regarding having an emergency meeting or
I think it would just be called a special meeting.
a special meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
And
48
you,
hours.
and the first thing is to get all the evaluations into the purchasing department, because if you're not at the 80% threshold, then there's nothing further to move forward on.
Okay.
If they do reach the 80%, I think it is possible to schedule a special meeting with them for the presentation and, kind of get some of the answers or questions that you may have of them answered. You can also choose to have a subcommittee handle that aspect too, and then report back to the entire commission. And that would avoid the need to have a special meeting with a majority of commission members present.
What do you guys all prefer, doing this like as a subcommittee, or do you guys want to have a special meeting? I don't want to have a special meeting because I know that, or just host one just because I'm not sure what everyone's time is like, and I don't know what that would entail for everyone. I know we're all really busy, so I would be open to taking this on with like a separate, smaller committee.
I do know that for me, if we were to do the special meeting, it would have to be the Monday of the week of the work session with City Council, since we have to have that number of 5 of the commissioners within the in-person guideline. And I won't be in Iowa City for next week. I do have to be out of town for work for all of next week.
This is Commissioner Dillard again. It sounds like a subcommittee would be the best, and I would volunteer to be a part of that to help move this along.
Yeah, I would also like to be a part of that. And Commissioner Rivera, you had a question?
I don't know. I'm leaning. This is a pretty big deal, so I'm just kind of leaning towards as many people being involved in the sort of deliberation process as possible. But I also feel like this is urgent, and we do need to move forward on this. So I'd like to just kind of see with those present in the meeting, if just say yes or no if you feel like it's important for you to be part of that discussion. And if it is above quorum, then I think that we should do everything that we can to find a date and time that works for a special meeting. So I would like to be part of that process.
No, one thing I would say is that as well, anyone that cannot make it, what we can do is forward the questions to each other, the people that will be participating as well, that we might have, so that they at least have all those questions available to ask and can all report back to the commission, so we're all aware.
So it also sounds like the rest of you guys, so it sounds like Commissioner Dillard, me, and Commissioner Rivera are interested in getting this done. And then I can reach out to Commissioner Daniel, because I know she probably would be very interested in being a part of this. If anyone else wants to be a part of this, then we would have to probably do a special meeting, just because we're at 4 there. But if you guys are okay with that, then I think we should move forward in arranging like a Zoom call or something between us at the early sometime next week.
Yeah, I'm also this Commissioner Gadua on the floor. I would also, I think it's a good idea for us to do this, and I want to be part of that. And I'll make myself available next week. We can work out that as we work out the time.
Okay, so then that sounds like we'd have to have a special meeting. Can the special meeting be via Zoom?
No.
No, it has to be here. Okay, so
Does this mean that all of us have to be there?
Just at least
40
5 of
of
us.
you have to
At
be
least
here in
5,
person.
yeah. Since 5 of us want to be there, it has to be a special meeting because of quorum. Five is quorum. So you don't technically have to come if you don't want to.
I don't need to. I trust my fellow commissioners. I just wanted to know, are the comments that we make going to be available to you?
If you're not there,
Yeah.
or like the comments that you make on the evaluation.
Yes.
That would be a good, yeah, that's a good question, Steph. Are we going to be able to see all of the comments that the other commissioners made on the evaluations?
I would think that that can be compiled into one document.
Okay,
If I'm incorrect, I will let you know tomorrow.
Yeah, I wrote comments on the evaluation, and I'm happy for those comments to be my addition or my contribution to this, and I trust the subcommittee to take care of that.
okay, that sounds good. So then what it sounds like is we'd have to figure out a time that a public space is available next week for us to have this meeting.
Well, first, everyone needs to return the evaluation forms
Yeah.
and make sure that the firm is at the 80%.
Okay, that sounds good. So then we won't be able to make a decision on that until at least Monday.
Correct. And
Okay,
correct.
Okay.
At the earliest.
that sounds good. So,
Mayor, did you mention that you were going to be available earliest Monday, August 16th for if you wanted to be a part of that?
Yes, I'll be out of town all of next week, Monday through Friday. So I actually have to
That
be
evening
gone.
would work for me.
August 16th.
I mean,
If we would just want to pen that in the calendar.
at the end of the day, like, let's just have that in mind for a date. But if it comes down to it and we do decide that a special meeting is not needed, then we also do have the option to have the smaller committee do it. If all the comments are going to be compiled and any extra questions can be sent in, then we can also kind of have a summary update that we do send in to Stephanie to forward to everyone, so we all are aware.
Yeah, that sounds good. I think just kind of as a last thing, because I don't think there's much more we can do until everyone's turned it in. I think just if you haven't turned it in, please do tomorrow by 5 p.m. And I'll reach out to Stephanie on Monday, or I'm sure if you find out the information before we do, you can
Yeah.
email us all.
Definitely.
But yeah, so then we can all touch base on Monday or Tuesday next week, and I think make a decision from there if that's okay.
And just to clarify, would this meeting be with the firm? Is that the intended purpose of the meeting, or is the intended purpose of the meeting for the commission to just have further discussions about their proposal?
I think we could turn that special meeting into if we find out it's over 80%, I think we could meet with the firm. I think that if they have a time to, and if they don't, I think that it would still be valuable for us to have at least a discussion, even if we are talking about even the strategic planning thing. But yeah, I think that's a good way to move forward there.
Vice Chair, would you be the one setting the agenda for the special meeting?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
And I'll be sure to get notes as well if I learn anything more from the people I do know in Elgin, and just get a little more background to have available. Do we have anything else on this item?
I have a quick question. We don't do anything else on the weekends. Is that correct?
Not required, no.
Okay. Well, I was just saying, we wouldn't be available at all, possibly just Sunday, and just all meet up before you have to go, or
I think,
anything along those lines.
yeah, for the public meetings, do we have to do those during the week?
Oh,
I would prefer to.
yeah, I would have to read the Iowa code to double check that. I don't I don't know. I can check.
Yeah. I can't
Yeah,
remember because I think that came up when we had the one a few months ago that it had to be during the week. But yeah, I guess that's just something to double check.
I don't believe there's a rule that says that they have to be during the week, but I just want to double check that before I sign off on it.
Okay.
As a as an advocate for mental health, I'd like to advocate for protecting weekends for this commission as much as possible. I think we all deserve a break from this type of work so that we can have the stamina to keep going forward.
Do we have a location in mind where we're going to be doing it?
it just depends on where it is and what the city has available, I think, correct?
If it's a special meeting, that is correct.
Okay.
If it's just a subcommittee, then, it wouldn't be.
It would be up to the subcommittee to decide how they wanted to meet. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I'm definitely about meeting up whenever you might need. I'll try to work my schedule around it. And if we ever need a facility or anything like that, I can work that out as well. So.
All right.
Does anyone have anything else on this item? Okay. We are on now to agenda item number 8, which is budget proposal updates. And I do want to give the public the chance to comment on this before we do continue. Doesn't look like we do have anyone from the public to speak on this. So I guess I'll just give a quick summary of things so far. So essentially, again, yeah, that facilitator aspect, the amount quoted would take us over what we currently do have allocated in the budget. And this is another reason I have been looking on multiple occasions now since pretty much late February, early March, a concrete answer from the city on how much exactly we can use out of the $1 million that was allocated when the TRC was created to things such as the TRC and Black Lives Matter related. Not having that answer makes creating this budget a little more difficult. So hoping that we are able to get a better answer on that. But from what occurred last week, just want to thank everyone for coming and also as well for giving your thoughts, whether it was people that were speaking in support or against, and also those that wrote in, whether you're speaking for or against, gives a better idea of maybe what to say or how to plan for the next meeting with the city and how to plan the budget going forward. I don't have anything in terms of specifics to say on changing the budget because that's going to fall on that work session. But at this time, I just do want to say that, again, when it comes to the public being a part of this, one thing I just found a little disappointing was that we just had this increased amount of input from many individuals who I've literally never heard from when it comes to anything on the TRC. So it's just very surprising for them to speak so strongly, even though I had in my actual statement, please listen to understand before listening to reply, and then had some of those people still read their exact prepared statement, asking questions that were literally just answered out of the budget. And then some accusations such as we are not doing the work that we were mandated to do, which was hard to hear as well. Because that once again to me shows that when it comes to commenting on something like this, when it comes to commenting on these situations, it really is important to either be at the meeting or to listen to the recordings or to engage with us. Because that was, to me, a disingenuous comment. like we are doing the work we were mandated to do. We have looked to engage key government officials. We have looked to engage the community, and we have engaged the community. We did hold a listening session in May. We have continued to work on getting the truth out on that from that listening session for the Excluded Workers Fund in tandem with multiple organizations in the city. We have continued to meet with those organizations, and we are also looking for an actual reconciliation process with that. So if that is not following the mandate, then I don't truly know what following the mandate looks like. And I just need a little more clarity on that. Because if we can't be on the same page as the people that we need to give recommendations to, then it's difficult to know how we can plan and how we can make recommendations. I just think that it's imperative that they do reach out to us and ask these questions ahead of time rather than waiting months to then say that they have no idea what's going on. And with that, I yield the floor.
There's a raised hand, Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Novus.
What happened? I mean, there were those of us that weren't there. So
essentially what occurred was that, so what I'd read from was 7 pages of 10-point font, which is the statement I read after going through the budget by line item and giving a summary of what each line item could potentially be used for and what we were looking to use each line item for. But we were told that we needed more clarity in the budget and that it was hard to understand why exactly all these things were needed. And as well, how I had thought it was going to go, as I've seen other presentations go with budget proposals or contract proposals to the city, is that you do actually get some kind of opportunity to respond to questions in real time, or at least have an ability to clarify. But instead of having that opportunity, it was kind of just cut off and then went to the comment, went to the response from the city, and then the work session, and that was that.
So this was the city responding?
Both the city and people from the public that didn't agree with the stipend aspect. That was the main thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's obviously going to be pushback on that, but I'm sorry. I thank you for clarifying.
Oh no, you're welcome.
So
I can go.
I was just going to say, they just pretty much want like a plan about what we're going to do with everything, and like a project plan and stuff like that was what I got from what council said. They wanted to know more specifics, which is asinine because that's going to take me so much time and so much effort and energy to do in order to have that prepared by August 17th. So they're just asking for justification pretty much on every point in the budget. They didn't pass it or like deny it. They just said, we want to talk more about it at a work session on August 17th, I believe was the proposed date. The only council member that was kind of fighting for us, Councillor Burgess, is the only one that has consistently kept in contact with me with what we're doing as a commission. She's the only one that has reached out and, you know, offered advice or asked if there's anything that she can do to help or keep. She's the only one that keeps, you know, I don't want to say keeps tabs on the commission, but genuinely cares. And so I just, yeah, I'm still frankly annoyed by council, but that's kind of the situation that we're in right now.
So I can go next. First of all, I want to say that I appreciate all of the members of this whole thing that put that budget together, because it felt like that it was just, they didn't appreciate that people that's on this commission took the time to make a budget. They just looked for things in the budget that was wrong. Second of all, I don't appreciate that some of the people that made the public comments were former members of this commission. And also those former members were responsible for inappropriate behavior, holding up the whole TRC process. They only showed up there because they were upset, because they were blamed for holding up the whole process, caused a whole media flurry because they interrupted our process. And these people are supposed to be leaders in our community. They're actually Johnson County supervisors. I'm going away from saying names because, you know, and that person even went on Facebook and talked bad about the whole TRC. And the city council kind of defended this person. With that, I yield.
Yeah, the extent of what I'll say on the Facebook stuff, which is kind of the other reason I'm staying away from, you know, calling anyone out on there, is that I did see one of the council members as well pretty much like and agree the status and the comment. And this was going in to the budget meeting, which to me was, I don't know, not only tough to see, but very telling, because you can't really be impartial and be there to listen and understand if you're pretty much already agreeing with the side. And you also don't answer, I mean, never have answered a phone call from me or a text, and also not paying attention to the meetings. And then to say that you are very surprised and disheartened by the stipend being in there, which wouldn't be very surprising if he had attended or listened to any of the 3 straight meetings where we talked about it and deliberated on it. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not one to hold grudges. So hopefully this is something that can be resolved, and I do have faith it can be, which is another reason why I just think we need to continue to stick together, and we need to continue to stick to the decisions we have made. If there is anything we do want to change in terms of what we have said or done in the past, we are open to that. But let's just make sure that we do have each other's backs, because this is only the beginning of things, and it can always get better or worse.
This is Commissioner Rivera. I just want to thank Chair Traore for opening that discussion at the city council meeting. I thought you did a brilliant job at presenting a case for the whole budget, and also items on it, including you know, the argument that we've formed over the last several meetings in terms of asking for a stipend. I thought that you did a commendable job, and the response from city council was not a reflection of how much effort you've put into that. I just want to kind of reflect back on my own response to that meeting, which was a very emotional one. It was a very sort of resentful and angry one. It was also left me with a little bit of kind of hopelessness in terms of what this commission might be able to do. I'm not there anymore, but you know, one of the thoughts that I had throughout that city council meeting was the irony or hypocrisy, or whatever the contradiction that exists when city council asks a commission like this, right, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, to do transformative, revolutionary work. It's asking us to invent itself, as well as invent solutions for the community of Iowa City. And yet the refrain or argument that was used by almost every city council member who agreed to defer the decision, and many members of the public who spoke up in opposition of our proposed budget, was that, well, this is just never the way that we've done things before, right? We've never paid any other commission, and so why should the TRC get a stipend? And I'd like to propose and maybe commit as myself to not stoop to the level of sort of only making recommendations that I think City Council will accept. I think that our job will still be tasked with making transformative and revolutionary recommendations that can better this community and benefit members of the BIPOC community. And so that's my commitment. And that it'll be up to City Council as to whether or not they listen to the people they appointed to this commission for these recommendations. So I just appreciate all of you for sticking with this work. I think that you deserve the world. I think, like you said, Chair, that we really need to stick together and keep moving forward. And if what they want is a better budget proposal, then we'll work on a good, better budget proposal that still argues for the principles that we stand for. And with that, I yield.
And I just want to clarify something that I heard you say, Chairperson. So because I think people need to hear this and just have clarity about it. So a Johnson County supervisor made a post on social media, and ahead of the budget meeting and ahead of a vote, a council person already liked what she said ahead of the vote. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, I just want that to be known for the public. That's how things work, and that's not the right way to do things. You shouldn't do things like that. And I just want to let that be. I want to make sure that sticks out.
Commissioner Johnson, we are supposed to be here for positive change. And that's the thing that confuses me the most about how the mindset can be, well, it wasn't this way for me, so it shouldn't be that way for anybody else. Positive change. Positive change is something that you might not have had before, but because of it, because of what it does and how it literally, it kind of speaks for itself, changes things for the better. I just can't even understand it. I don't get it. And that's also one of the reasons why I do as well support every single member who is currently still on and has been on since the beginning, because you have been here fighting for positive change and you did not walk away from positive change. Even if you are doing positive change elsewhere, you're also not stepping on anybody else as they're trying to create positive change. And I really appreciate that. And that's one of the reasons why, like I said, I wanted to join on, because I didn't want you guys to lose the steam that you have. Let's keep moving it forward. Let's keep doing the right thing. Let's keep progressing and making things better for all of us here in Iowa City, not holding grudges in any way, shape, or form because of one thing to another. I once again appreciate all my fellow commissioners, period, who have put in the hard work and the effort and at the same time are still pushing forward. I think we need to, if we're going to have discussion, I would hope that people would show up and actually talk with us and we can talk things out in order to move things forward, rather than it's almost like a blind side. We hear something in the paper or somebody shows up and they feel a certain way about it, but they haven't discussed anything with us at all. And not publicly, at least not in a situation like this. It doesn't make sense to me. I would hope that if we are going to be moving forward for the better, instead of telling people to tighten up on us and show their power against us and so on and so forth, how about we just figure out a better way of moving together as a unit? And if this is something that can help us, if this is something that can help us in creating an easy process for it, then we need to push forward together instead of arguing and or anything else along those lines. Let's come in, let's discuss, let's talk about it, and then understand your point inside on why you disagree, why it should be that way, and then listen also and understand why we feel like things should be changed a little bit more. I mean, to me, that seems like it's pretty easy to figure out, but with that, I yield.
I'll take the floor. This is Commissioner Wangui. I am piggybacking on Commissioner Rivera's comments. Yes, it was an emotional laden day, especially because with Commissioner Rivera, we had just come from presenting the land acknowledgement to the Human Rights Commission. And yes, what we've all said, and especially what Commissioner Johnson, you've just said, we are supposed to be moving forward positively. But then again, I'm not surprised that there is so much knee-jerk, reflexive pushback. With that being said, I do want to thank the people in the audience that declared publicly, and as we go about in the community meeting them, they talk to us because we're getting known in the community, and they let us know it is time for this to happen in our Iowa City, to get to work through, hear the truths. Are they painful? Of course. And then move on to a positive place. So I do want to thank them, those who, when they met us at Weatherby Park, they would call out and tell us that we are your allies and partners. And that particular day during that session with the council, there was a very young man who I really, really appreciate his being there and his courage and his vulnerability of standing there and saying and being an ally and partner. I could get his name wrong, but I think he told me he was Jonah. That being said, something came to light again and again. We were told we are just like any other board and commission in the city. That being said, I earlier on have served in the Human Rights Commission. So I have something to compare with the two boards. The amount of work I am doing is much more. And the amount of, there was a mechanism that was there as I got in the Human Rights Commission, which is not there with our ad hoc. Already even our name, ad hoc, is already different from the other commissions. That being said, I will make a suggestion before we go, as we go forward with our discussions and get to the work session. I am thinking we ask for what the other commissions have, the mechanism that is set up for them for support, because this is also a show of faith from the Council of Iowa City that and the government of Iowa City, that they are really, it is not just checking a point, and they are truly committed to the process and the work of the commission. So that is something I would want us to get, the comparison of what mechanisms are there for the other commissions and this ad hoc commission, the TRC, what do we have? Because right now on that day, because I felt attacked, like I was set up, and then I'm being attacked for not achieving what I was set up for. So moving forward, I would want to understand that. And then by the time we get out of the session, I will want to know whether getting equality of mechanisms of support for this commission. And also, equality is not always equity. And the TRC is about equity too. So I will also want the going a step ahead, not just equity, but the specificity, the equity, the fairness of what the specificness of this commission, what they need, getting what we need. And with that, I yield the floor. That was my main takeaway from that day. Thank you. I yield.
And I can go really quickly.
I just want to make sure we give Commissioner Novus a chance.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, let's see. It's weird now.
Oh, I just, okay, so I'm just trying to get an understanding of what's going on here. Basically, there were people that were just kind of against everything in general, obviously because of some personal bias. But then there were people that specifically had issues like with the honorariums. Is that kind of a summary of this? And then they went on their own pages and said things.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was essentially, most of it was against the stipend, but a lot of it was just in terms of just comparisons to how things are done in the past and process, and about saying.
Okay, so why do they want a Truth and Reconciliation Commission if they want to continue to do the same thing as the past?
Yeah.
And to quote Counselor Burgess, we're just going to be paying someone else to do this work anyway if they're not paying us to do this work. Like that is like the other thing. Like if this wasn't going to get done, then they were going to pay someone else to do it. So why not pay the people that are already here willing to do this?
Part of reconciliation is reparations. And so if people don't understand that, I guess we'll have to do a better job at educating them, which I'm happy to do.
And I just want to bring up a point too that, as far as the amount of money, we can always talk about that. People wanted to try to point that out, and they're getting paid this much an hour and all this stuff. We can work that out. We just want to feel appreciated because we are different than all the other Human Rights Commission and things like that, because we're going to recommend things to all of those commissions, whether it's about policing, healthcare, education. We have a deadline, and somebody brought that up, when we was at that meeting. Another thing that was brought up that was blatantly ignored, but it was brought up, was that, all these TRCs across the world and other places get paid. And that was brought up in that meeting. It was blatantly ignored.
Yeah.
So with that, I yield.
One thing I'd like to say is that it at least, go ahead, Chastity.
You can go ahead, Mohammed. I'll go after you.
I just wanted to say that let's just make sure we don't take this as any type of loss, at least take it as a lesson in terms of what we can learn from what did occur, and what we can change to at least think of these things ahead of time. And as well, when it comes to the budget in itself, it does give us another opportunity to amend it and to improve it. I mean, one thing I'd always thought of is, and a question that we do get to ask at the work session, like, is there a way to put in donations to specific nonprofits that we've spoken to that we feel like, need this money or should get this? Because felt like we're going to recommend it anyways. Or are there opportunities to, I feel that our support staff that we do have compared to other commissions, we have one person and doing a lot on another commission. Can we put in a stipend for that person? I know there's a few differences because you're already a city official, but that's one thing that had been on my mind. And that's one reason I tried to reach out to some of the city council people and just had a little bit of trouble getting an understanding. We get to talk to them. We get to figure that out. We get to have all of that in stone.
I would, after Commissioner Dillard speaks, I would say that we would move on just because I think that this
Yeah.
could also be talked about in another agenda item, but go ahead, Commissioner Dillard.
I just wanted to give my insight to the experience from last Tuesday and how disheartening it was, just agreeing with everyone, and it was deflating. And just what I've come from it and real after reading the RFP, and I think kind of finally understanding what a facilitator person or team could be. I just feel like the city has failed us twice by not truly sharing with us what, or not truly sharing with us what this could be. And I just would like to say, I don't even think they understand what truth and reconciliation is. But with that, I will yield the floor.
If we don't have anything else on this, are we ready to move to agenda item number 9?
Yes.
So we do have update from the Education Subcommittee responding to the state of Iowa ban on critical race theory. Do we have anyone in the public that wants to say anything on this? Okay. So I want to give the floor to Commissioner Gothula now.
Yes, as the point person, I'm not going to take a lot of time reporting where we are at. We started out by listing and wanting to explore the framework we shall use in fact finding and truth, and exploring the experiences that we shall the breakdown of the experiences. And at that time, we also decided it was very important as members of the Education Subcommittee to attend the National Night Out, which we did. And one of us was also there in her capacity as a host. And right there, it's already showing that members of the community, even without any swag or any TRC paraphernalia or badges or a t-shirt, which I would at some point want to wear, they were recognizing us and letting us know that they are behind our work and it is timely. That being said, this was interrupted in our last week's meeting where we agreed, because during the previous TRC meeting, we had agreed to that we cannot not, as TRC, we cannot not address the new law. And I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not using legal language. I'm an educator. So banning critical race theory being taught. So, and again, we repeated this in our meeting, which is made up of Commissioner Johnson and Commissioner Dillard. So we just agreed there we are dealing with it, and we gave ourselves tasks, and we said the way to go about it, because we can't just not address it, especially as an education and youth engagement subcommittee. So we agreed the way we would want to suggest to TRC is by petitioning on that law, that state law. So we divided tasks on what to do. I am going to research on it, starting by educating myself and the committee on what it is. I do know or cursorily that it is used to teach on race relations in this country, emerging from 1970. So that is the task that from the subcommittee that I have ahead of me. And then Commissioner Dillard will look at the law, and Commissioner Johnson is going to look at the ways. I'll let you jump in and talk about that, Commissioner Johnson and Commissioner Dillard, on clarity on each of your tasks.
Yes, I'm looking up critical race theory from multiple different perspectives. I feel like in order to understand a whole, you got to look at it from each and every single person's angle and try to understand why and where they're coming, where they're coming from, and why they think the way they do, and then from there try to move forward. So that's what I've been doing over this past week, is trying to just research a lot more and kind of get it more locked into my head. But I feel like there's still a lot more for me to go through, but I'm getting a pretty comfortable grasp, but by far not done, of how people are kind of feeling. I feel though as though I'm getting a pretty good grasp. So, but I would like to hear more from the public. I would like to talk with the public. I feel like that is extremely important because you'll find that a lot of people agree with you, and you'll find a lot of people disagree with you. The only way you can do that, though, is by communicating. So I would hope that we can set up a time where we can all discuss it in a civilized manner. That's all. That's where I'm at right now.
Yeah, differentiating that Commissioner Johnson's from my task. Mine is more historical and more academic, and versus his, which is experiential and very, very present. Yes. But there are overlaps on his task and all that, and we will continue, of course, coming together as we look at that and bring it back to the TRC.
Yes, and thank you.
I think
Commissioner
Commissioner Dillard was next, and then Chair Commissioner Nobis has her hand raised too.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
I am going to be doing exactly what Commissioner Gathawa said. I will be looking more at the law of things and what's going on in our areas.
I have a clarifying question for Commissioner Dillard.
Yes.
I guess I'm just kind of wondering, like, as a commission, we're talking about this, but I'm curious as to what this might turn into in terms of, I guess the question that I have would be, like, could we make statements on critical race theory as like a government entity? Or like, would we be able to provide education to the public on critical race theory, or is that explicitly banned? So those are just some of the questions that have been floating around in my mind and haven't been clear to me.
I can't give you the answer yet, but that is something I was looking into. So
great.
Those are good questions.
Yeah, we haven't clarified that to ourselves yet. When we agreed that we will do a petition, because that is where Commissioner Dillard is looking at how is that as far as the law is concerned. And I also do have an example where I was at a summit that is funded by the state and one presenter, because they were already ready with their presentation before the being made for the law. And at that summit, there was a state aid to listen in. And how they went about it, they said they cannot not talk about it. And they had music play over, such that if there was anybody audio recording, it would come out jumbled. Yes, going back to your question, Commissioner Rivera, that is how far we have gone with looking at that. We don't have an answer for you right now.
Novus? Yeah, Commissioner Novus?
I wanted to provide some thoughts that I have on this wonderful subcommittee that I wish I was a part of. I am doing a lot of work on this with my own work, so I appreciate that this is happening. I wanted to add that I really don't think we should use the term critical race theory when discussing this issue. The term critical race theory is not even used within the ban itself, within the legislation itself by the state, because the term critical race theory is just one term of many used when discussing anti-racism and cultural competency. And so basically the ban is on teaching certain concepts such as, like, the fact that the US and Iowa is systematically racist, which we all know this is why we're here. This is why we have this Iowa City Truth and Reconciliation Commission, because of systematic racism. The state is trying to stop us from dismantling systematic racism. And they use the term critical race theory because it's in their benefit, because the term critical can be taken two ways. It can be taken as like an academic term when you are, obviously observing things and discussing them, and then it also can be seen as, criticism, right? And so the racists that like to use the term critical race theory like to use it because it implies that it's being critical to race, but that is not the case at all. Critical race theory is basically anti-racism work. And so we should call it what it is. There is a ban on anti-racism work within Iowa, which is exceedingly dangerous and is targeting people like us right here, right now. This is why I was so fired up in the meeting a month ago about doing something about this, because it is a huge step back for all of the work that has been done for social justice in the past 60 years, and exceedingly dangerous to the health and safety of BIPOC folks and people of certain religious affiliations in this country. And so I just would like to, I don't know if we can even, I don't think there's no motion or anything. I just want to advise that to the committee, if that's something they'd like to discuss about the using the term critical race theory, because basically what it does is it feeds in to their racist viewpoints of what this is. It's their propaganda. It's like the term critical race theory is propaganda. So I really want us to stop using that term. I mean, we can use it when we're obviously trying to explain what we're talking about, but we always have to, clarify that it is anti-racism work. I'm done. Thank you.
I'll jump in and respond to Commissioner Nobis. Thank you very much. I always appreciate your recentering me on this very, very crucial work. What you have just contributed right now is it goes to our petition and a reminder to all of us that language is very, very powerful. And also in this, there's also the politics that mark up this work, and I'll state the struggle is real as it continues. I will yield. Yeah, thank you very much.
Oh, I just thought of something while you were speaking. It would be really great if we talk to other truth and reconciliation commissions in other states and cities and other, folks doing this type of work like we are to see if we can create a coalition of sorts because they've banned critical race theory now in 17 states, and there's 28 states that are looking into there's more states that are also there's 28 total that are looking to ban it, you know what I mean? And then there's 17 that have already done it. And so it'd be great if we could add that to the, I don't want to add too much more work, but I wonder if there's a coalition of sorts with TRC committees or, you know, committees like this, because I know there's a lot that have popped up since last summer as well. So maybe just a thought.
Thank you for adding to our end game, which is the petition, and really contributing a lot to the content of that petition. And with that, I yield because there are other hands up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm wondering if we are, as an education subcommittee, are meeting with Sakawis, and she's representing Great Plains Action Society. Is that different than having an additional person, or would that be able to work if we wanted to work together to work on this and see kind of like what she's done as
Like
far as,
you want to consult with me?
yeah.
It's still a quorum and you're talking about committee. So as long as it's, it would still count for.
Okay, just wondering.
I could just say what I think about it real quick. You know, I'm not on the education committee, but this is one of the issues that, you know, disturbs me a whole bunch, that there's a ban on this. So I appreciate the work that people are doing, you know, to try to deal with this. And I would like to hear like further updates later on in future meetings. And I don't think we should let this issue go. It's upsetting to me because like, it's like they want to bury some racist history, just bury it and it never comes back. Maybe sitting around and having a conversation about, hey, this happened in the past. This will make people get together and like, okay, that was a mistake. It shouldn't happen like that. Whether it was people, you know, whether it was African Americans, whether it was Native Americans, and all the other groups that have suffered racial injustice in this country since its inception. So that kind of makes me mad that they just want to bury the part so we can just say, hey, we don't want to teach about slavery. We don't want to teach about something that drove this country and the economy in this country for years is the use of slavery. And with that, I yield.
I'm not seeing the hands, so I'll go ahead again and respond to Commissioner Nobis and what Commissioner Harris has just said, and also respond to tie together with what Commissioner Ali has said. All of us, and even what Commissioner Harris has and what Commissioner Nobis have, I know we are able to reach out to them and they give us their contribution without us going to the realm of ending up being a whole meeting. And yeah, so, and yeah, I yield.
I think we can do it that way. And then once we feel that we have enough information together, like maybe let's shoot for 2 meetings from now to kind of just correspond on all of that. And then maybe just actually do a presentation together on it. So that way everyone is in the know and everyone kind of gets a chance to have that be a focus of a meeting. And then another thing that allows us to do is take a little more time to research that law and what it says on public figures in terms of the government being able to speak on it or being able to do certain things with it. Because that's just one thing that when the law came out that I was essentially just looking at, if we are to make a certain recommendation, would we even be able to implement it? Because of the fact that there was, it seemed like there was like a threat in there to like sue like that group or that city or something. Such as one reason I kind of just want to make sure we take that time to look into it and yeah, let's still do the work and make sure that we are trying to respond to it. But I just don't want to get in that position of also, acting too early before we know that and kind of hamstringing ourselves on that front.
Yeah, and that is why today we placed our after what we were charged with for the commission in the 2 weeks to look at and kind of make the suggestion on what we are suggesting for the commission. And with that, if anybody has materials now that we have let you know the tasks that we have charged ourselves with, please send us through our visual communication the suggestions that anything that you have to contribute to the 3 tasks that us 3 commissioners are doing. I yield.
I think this is probably a good place to move on to the next agenda item.
So in terms of the next agenda item, the strategic planning session, the frameworks we use to complete our work. So we did add this to the agenda in the last time. And the main reason I do want to make sure we do still speak on this is that really after digging into that facilitator proposal and seeing how it was written out, it was giving me a few more ideas on this. And to me, this is going to be more so a shorter discussion in terms of what the critical aspects of this would look like and what we want to consider. And also just to talk about how we can contribute to this, because the way that that facilitator agreement is written or that proposal is written would really change a lot of how this strategic planning aspect would go. And unfortunately, just because of the rules on it, I don't want to taint anyone's possible vote or how they score it by speaking on details within it. Stephanie, I'm not allowed to do that, correct?
I mean, you can speak to details.
Oh, I can? Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess it's not clear to me that that's what that agenda, I mean, it's a strategic planning session, the framework we will use to complete our work.
Yeah.
So is the
Yeah.
framework based upon what you have to say, or is it based on the RFP?
Well, it's based on the 2 because in terms of, so I'll essentially put it this way. How this would work is we essentially come up with a framing question, something that we want to try to use as like a pilot test of how a process could work and something we want to look to complete within the next 90 days. And each of us looks at assets or things that we can bring to the table to help accomplish that. In terms of your like physical and natural assets, like things that you have available to hold, or just things that you do currently know, such as like skill, knowledge assets, social assets, people you have within your network that you think can contribute as well to help lighten the load or to also help contribute their knowledge assets, and then capital assets. And that's not particularly, your own money, but rather like in terms of budget items and things like that. So that's what I mean. We voted on this the last time, but the budget aspect being pushed back kind of hampers that a little bit and talking about that end. And then the next thing is linking assets and how they can work together, how they can collaborate. So it's more so that each person within the network is doing something to contribute rather than just the commission scrambling and taking all of these other things on, because we're looking to make this a repeatable process. And the last thing essentially is looking at an action decision. Like, what should we do in terms of that pilot test idea? And then ranking a few things and looking at, all right, what is the easiest thing to do out of this? Like the big easy, something. So the things to rank are high impact versus low impact, difficult versus easy. But we're looking for something that has that good balance of being high impact, but being easy to complete. And when I say easy to complete, I mean that in a way of, if you take something that's very, very, very difficult, but high impact to complete right off the bat, and you fail at it, it can, lower your morale, feel like you're not going to get anything done. If you take something that you feel like is moderate to high impact, that's easy to get done, It helps with building momentum. And you've already built a network. And then it's easy to see, okay, who within this network could help us with the next thing? Building that network out further. And all right, now out of that one, who can then collaborate with us on the next project? And then continue it in that way. So we're building the engagement that we're getting within the commission, but that we're also bringing more people to the table and giving more people a voice in how the entire process is going. So how each leg of it would work is, so I remember a few meetings ago, I asked you all how this commission went. And when it came to the end, what would make you happy and what would make you feel like we succeeded? The reason I asked you that is because the last thing to really look at is a Pathfinder project, beginning with that end goal in mind, and then setting guideposts of how we can then get there, kind of planning that path there. So this is like in each like 90-day increments. What do we think for that last 90-day part of each leg, where we want to get to by that milestone? And to get there, what can we do in 30 days? What can we do in 60 days? And then what can we have by that 90-day mark? And each of us looking at, all right, what can I do to put 30 to 60 minutes a week or every other week to contributing to this, so that I have something to bring to the table in terms of an update? It doesn't have to be the most difficult thing in the world that you're doing, but just that little time commitment that you can put in, whether that's within a subcommittee meeting, working together, and all of you putting that time in together, whether it's going to a community event and helping to build that network. So essentially leveraging those assets over time. So thinking of each thing that we're doing on behalf of the commission or to help the project is more so like an extension of what we would want to do anyways within the community, but having this guidepost in mind. So I know that's a lot to throw out, and I will be typing a summary of this as well and including that, for one, to have in the public record, but two, for everyone to see. But I do want to ask first and foremost of any questions that anyone has before we dive any deeper.
I think that all of this stuff in relation to like strategic planning is really great. And I think looking at all of those aspects and all of the questions that you raise is really great. But I don't think that it's going to be easy for us to figure this out before we have the facilitator part figured out. And I'm not saying that we should give up on everything. I just think that like we're not all professionals in this aspect, and that can be asking, you know, a lot for some of us who work long hours and have a lot to do. I think that figuring out all of those frameworks is really important in the work that we're going to be doing. But I think that our facilitator, whoever that may be, will help guide us in that direction because they've had these experiences before, rather than, you know, 9 individuals who haven't been guided in any way. Like, this is all just us doing everything. Nobody has helped us. And I really think that it would be important to work on this maybe in like the kind of figure it out at like as like the budget subcommittee maybe before we meet next time. But I think as far as the commission goes, I really feel like this should be kind of put to not first the back burner per se, but just I think that we should focus on what the facilitator aspect and what that person is going to be bringing to the table and what we need from them. Because I think a lot of this stuff and getting the networking and stuff together would be really easy because we could just provide that person with that information and then we're paying them to do that work, you know? So I just don't want to overextend or ask some of us to do a lot when there's already so much on a lot of our plates. You know, you're going to be gone all next week. That's a lot to have to deal with the week before or a couple of days before we're meeting with the city council, especially after something so important. You know, you're not going to have a lot of time to prep for that realistically. So I just don't want us to get too ahead of ourselves on something like this when there's already going to be a step that we have to, a path that we have to, like something that we have to cross off before we can even get to that step. But I think all of those points that you made are great, and those plans and working to cross off those goals are really important things to make us feel like we're, continuing to do important work as a commission. So I think everything you said is really great. I just don't know if it should be at the front of our minds right now before we have such an important meeting coming up with council and stuff like that. So I'm going to yield to the floor with that.
And
Chair Traore, Commissioner Dillard had her hand up. It looks like it's down now, but she did have it raised.
Well, I just want to make sure, Commissioner Dillard, did you have something to add?
I just wanted to second what Commissioner Amel said. I agree. I think what you're saying is very important, and I appreciate everything, all the thoughts you put in it. I think a facilitator would be able to make this happen even faster, even more. So I think we need to really focus on the facilitator part of it first.
and I just want to say that I agree with those points too as well. That once we get the whole facilitated thing worked out, and then it'll work out, and then because the points that you made were really good points, but I think that we should get the whole thing worked out first with the facilitator, because that will help out more, and we're going to pay him, to help out with that. So that's a good point.
Yeah, I actually agree wholeheartedly with all three of you.
Yeah.
This is why, like, when we talked about this at the last meeting, that was one, before knowing, budget thing being deferred, but two, as well, after really seeing the facilitator proposal, they had kind of hit a lot of these points within it. So that really changed my mindset on how this would be done. But I just kept it in there in this way and kept that 45-minute aspect in there. Just wasn't sure how you all would want to tackle it. So just wanted to keep that time in there just in case. So this time, I think what I'll do is still type it up and like just leave it in terms of documents and the notes. So it's just there and available. And then, if anyone has anything that comes to mind that they want to think of and jot down, there's at least that framework there that you can kind of just, make a quick note. And then as well, kind of just giving us an idea of not just what was proposed, but also kind of like questions that we may want to ask in terms of that proposal. Like, how would they leverage those assets? Like, it's one thing for them to say that we will do this, and this, but I'm also just thinking of the fact that we're bringing in people that aren't even from here to then start building a network here. So I kind of want to have like each of us think of, all right, who do we kind of know that we at least want them to think about for starting with, instead of just throwing them out there, hey, go do this. But I'd say, yeah, just over the next like 30 days or so, just if you have anything that comes to mind in terms of a group that you may really want them to collaborate with, just jot it down, take a quick note or something that comes to mind of something that you think will work. And that's all I really have on this agenda item.
The thing I'll add is another set of thanks to you, Chair Traore, for bringing this up and closing the loop on it. I would appreciate that summary of all the points that you made, because I think that I need to sit with those points and questions a little bit more so that I could provide some productive feedback to you. I agree with everyone's points about, the conversation will change a lot depending on what happens with this RFP. And that will put into perspective and really crystallize a lot, I think, for me in terms of just the strategic process of this commission. But, in the proposal that was written, one of the first action items that the firm had suggested was an individual meeting with maybe you and vice chair to talk about what the goals were. And so I think that it is going to be important for us as the rest of the commissioners would be to sort of consider these points and be ready to provide some of our thoughts to the chair and vice chair in preparation for that meeting with the firm, should, of course, they be hired on as our facilitator. And I'll yield.
Yeah, thank you. Does anyone else have anything to add, or does anyone from the public have anything to add on this?
I'll take the floor. Commissioner Traore, I will appreciate if the request you're going to put in writing, if you would share, and then I would use it for some reflection and then putting some things down, and then to use with the final product that you will have written down, so that by the time we come to using it, everything we've been doing, I will have it handy. I'm piggybacking on what Commissioner Rivera has said. I will want to receive what you had said you were going to send to use for my own reflection and looking at it, and a copy of the final document that we will use, the one that you'll have. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you. Just want to check one last time before we move on. Okay. We are now on to number 11, which is discussion of community topics. So once again, for these are things that we asked to get added on here that we can talk about back and forth. But I know that usually we have a few extra items on here. I just think that there are a few things we'll probably talk about that are more of announcements, but just want to remind everyone going forward, if there's anything that you want added on here for community topics, please do not feel like you can't say anything, because I won't hesitate to put it on there. That's the whole point of this agenda item.
And again, just to remind us, you'd like those topics submitted by like the Monday night before the commission meeting? Is that right?
Preferably, but if something was to come to mind on the Tuesday, then at the latest that Tuesday at noon, because that's the time I try to have it to Stephanie so that she can have it prepared and sent in by the end of Tuesday, because I believe that's the requirement of when you need to have it in.
It's not the requirement, but it ensures that I can get the agenda posted within the rules of the Iowa Code.
Okay, yeah. So by that Monday night, if possible, but if anything is to come to mind on that Tuesday, just get it in by noon. Otherwise, we can either make sure to have it on community topics at the next meeting, or to just at least let you know that you can still have it as an announcement, and then we can have it as an agenda item the next time.
Yeah, and I'll take this minute. It's Commissioner Wangui again, to appreciate Commissioner Traore of always prompting in meeting that deadline of if one is going to have some item on the agenda, of always shooting a text to prompt to just as a kind of prompt to make sure that we are within the time, we are timely in having things on the agenda. Thank you. I yield.
So just want to say, in terms of the excluded workers fund updates, I just want to thank everyone for everything they've been doing on this.
Chair, should we open it up to public comment?
Oh, very true. Yeah. Yes. So we have Charles Eastham speak on this one. Yeah, is it okay if I just give him my mic, or does he have to use that one?
Oh, we have to use that one.
Oh,
Thank you, Chair Traore. My name is Charlie Eastham. I'm appearing tonight as a member of the Center for Worker Justice Board of Directors. And I'd like to talk about ask the commission to do to consider an extension, an addition to the Excluded Workers Fund proposal, which I think was given to you within your last 1 or 2 or 3 meetings. I've taken a look at the Excluded Workers Fund proposal myself, and I noticed it includes 4 general areas for using American Rescue Plan Act funds from the city of Iowa City and the county. And one of those general areas is for affordable housing. I'd like to ask the commission to do some outreach and clarify and expand perhaps that the types of housing that we should be considering, particularly the completion of the Forest View neighborhood, which I'm sure some of you are familiar with. And the application of American Rescue Plan Act funds to the development of that, the final development of that new neighborhood will help a lot of people in the community, many Latinx, as well as African American and other people of minorities, to obtain long-term housing that's affordable to them at a very reasonable price for the foreseeable future. I can go into details or sort of more general statements about the background of the Forest View neighborhood proposal and the work that's been done there so far. We just say that it's about a 5-year project at this point, and it's can be near completion, but we need some capital to do the final steps here. So I'd be happy to talk with commission members maybe after this meeting if you'd like, and give you some more details. And perhaps you can consider including this project specifically in the Excluded Workers Fund proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to ask a quick question. So in terms of the capital amount, if you have kind of like a round number on it, you can either say it now if you're comfortable saying it now, or if not, I'd be more than happy to continue.
I'm comfortable with saying a range of numbers. The capital amount varies depending on several factors. I would say, in my view, this is my opinion, the capital amount varies in the range of $6 to $9 million for up to 80 individual housing units. 50 plus of those housing units would be manufactured homes, and another 20 to 30, depending on circumstances, would be condominium units and apartment buildings. All of this has been the factors that determine the capital amount and the number of final homes are all in an agreement that the city and the residents of Forest View worked out a couple of years ago as part of the rezoning process there. Does that help, Chairman?
Yes. And I would definitely like to have you speak on this more, and we can correspond one privately or with the coalition, but 2, I would also like to give space at our next meeting to have a more expanded discussion on it.
I would appreciate that, but it's up to the commission, obviously.
I think that would be a good idea because I'm definitely curious. I don't know a lot of knowledge on this agreement or this project. So that would be helpful if we could talk about that at the next meeting.
Same.
I think we're good then, if you don't have any more clarifying questions for Mr. Eason.
Yeah, I just don't have any off the top of my head. That's why I just want to make sure that we get the chance to speak, and then we do give it more space so that we can like truly flesh it out and get a good statement together, get a good recommendation together as well. So we truly do it justice.
Right. And I think the same thing. I would like to look into this some more and have conversations about it, because
this is an extremely topical point of discussion, so I appreciate you presenting this to us. We'll, in the meantime, kind of communicate with the rest of the Fund Excluded Workers Coalition that it has been brought up, and that our sort of action item at this point is to learn more at our next meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you. Do we have anyone else from the public that wants to add anything to either what was just said or on the Excluded Workers Fund updates in general? Okay. we're now over to the commission. And before I say anything, I want to give Commissioner Harris or Commissioner Rivera the opportunity to speak first, or anyone else.
I would just say that I think next week there's this march that's going to happen. And while I was sitting in this meeting, I got a message from the Iowa Catholic worker, and he showed me a picture with some of the banners. So it's going to be a very big event. Like he sent me a message with pictures of the banners. Every time that, one of the things that makes me proud is that every time I go to one of those events, I see someone from the TRC there. Even though I've heard people say, hey, what's the work that we do outside of these meetings? Well, every time I go somewhere, whether it's Kevo, whether it's Cliff, whether it's Mohammed, I always see people, and especially with the Excluded Workers Fund, there's been a lot of work put into that. There's been a lot of powerful things going on with that. Some of the testimony is powerful. I gave some myself. It's actually the second time that I gave some testimony about that in the past month or so. And if you ever want to hear about why the Excluded Workers Fund is important, go to one of the events and listen to the testimony from the people. And with that, I yield.
And Chair, do you see that Commissioner?
Yeah.
Dillard? Okay.
Yeah, we have Commissioner Dillard's hand up.
This is a time that we can do commissioner announcements, right?
Oh, that'll be a little later, but
Okay,
if
just
you do
making-
have one that's just related to Excluded Workers Fund, you can still give it now.
Nope, I misunderstood. I yield.
Okay.
Chair, I'll just provide a quick update to the rest of the commission for those who weren't in attendance at the last Excluded Worker Fund event. So just to provide a brief update, the Fund Excluded Workers Coalition, of which the TRC is a part, planned and organized a stakeholder meeting with the city manager and the associate city manager last Friday at St. Patrick's Church. There were several, the majority of the audience was Latinx individuals, many of whom identified as either excluded workers and or essential workers, who many of whom have been deeply affected by the pandemic. I think it was sort of an extension of the type of stories that we heard when the Catholic Worker House first presented the the Excluded Workers Fund to this commission. I think it was really important for us to see the response of the city managers as a point of that meeting. We asked, or members of the panel asked the city manager point blank, will you support the Excluded Workers Fund? How soon will you do it? Will you support our essential workers? He was very clear in stating that he couldn't make any commitments on the behalf of the city or city council, and that his purpose in attending that meeting was to learn more about what was proposed in the Excluded Workers Fund. But he did agree to follow-up meetings with the coalition to discuss the details and points that we have. He made it clear that it's his job also to continue to hear public input from other people who have requests or ideas about what to do with the funds from the discretionary funds from the American Rescue Plan Act. I think that, as members of the commission, it's still going to be important for us to be present in this feedback soliciting process. There's still a survey that's going out to the members, the residents of Iowa City, asking, for public input for how to use the ARP. And so if we can continue to encourage people to take that survey and use it to voice support of the Excluded Workers Fund, that would be an extension of, the commitment that we signed up for. Is that a good summary, Chair?
Yeah, very, very good. I just want to say as well that the thing that really did help for me was at least hearing the commitment to more meetings, because that's highly needed. But I just want to say, unfortunately, I can't make the march next week because I can't not go to my work thing in Des Moines for all of next week. But that I already have blocked off my calendar for the next few listening sessions, and definitely will be at those. And what I would assume at this point is that there will more than likely end up being either more marches or more organizing events behind these listening sessions. And it's good to see all the people sharing the events and the posts. And also just, I don't know if anyone had noticed, but David Goodner did email us and show us that the language that was used to refer to the group or the workers itself has now changed to excluded workers by Johnson County Board of Supervisors themselves. So in that, repeating it and having the coalition continually speak out is at least changing it in that respect. Because it's one thing to hear about people that have been hurt by the pandemic, but it's another thing to have a specific phrase of excluded workers. To me, that holds a lot more power and just shows that it's truly being recognized. With that, I yield the floor.
And then I'll just go again real quick. I'll be at the march definitely when he has the march. One of the things that I observed while I was at that meeting is I sat next to the city manager. He's going to have to take some action. He looked pretty uncomfortable during that meeting. He's going to have to take some action. And, you know, you brought up David Goodner. He's not going to stop. He's not going to give up. So hopefully we can see some action that comes soon, because there are going to be more marches. He's not going to stop. With that, I yield.
I plan to attend the march, and for the other commissioners who are unfamiliar with the details of the march, the information is included in the back of the packet. So it's happening on Wednesday, August 11th at 3:30, starting at Catholic Worker House. So I plan to attend. It sounds like Commissioner Harris is as well, to make sure that we're not superseding quorum. Maybe you can just reach out to me and I can just make sure that we won't have more than 5 of us in attendance, but please do reach out and let me know if you plan to attend as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, more than likely, I'm going to end up there myself. So just heads up.
Yep.
Yeah, I just actually wanted to ask Stephanie, because I know that public events like put on by the city or just like general public events aren't counted, but because we're part of the coalition, would this end up being something?
I mean, I think if there's 5 of you there and you're talking about commission business, that would be problematic. If 5 of you are there to support this cause and you're simply walking and not discussing commission business, then I don't think there's a concern.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
It feels like commission business though, right? Because we've made the fund part of our work.
Yeah, but I still, you know, as long as you guys aren't huddled in a corner, 5 of you, and I mean, because I suspect the purpose of this is more solidarity, right? So if you're not having conversations about, oh, at the next meeting, we should approach it like this or this. I think you're fine. I mean, if you're there in support or solidarity, that's fine. It's what you do when you're there that could create concerns.
Okay.
The boss gave us permission. Everyone come if you can. We'll just pretend not to know each other. Thanks, Stephanie, for that clarification.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to add to this?
I think this is related, but if it's not, somebody will let me know. I'm thinking when we are out there in public, it would help to have something that makes us stand out, maybe a t-shirt with lettering of TRC. I yield.
Tags.
Yeah.
Do you have your name tag?
Yes, I
So
do.
I would suggest wearing that. I think that was the suggestion that last time this came up, I think that was the suggestion
Yeah.
to wear these at like public events or things like city sponsored events or things like that.
Yeah, facial recognition is enough already at this
Yeah.
point. It's just.
And it looks like, yeah, Commissioner
Thank
Dillard.
you. That's why I spoke out. I spoke out. Thank you.
This is Commissioner Dillard. I keep hearing about name tags and I don't know what you're talking about. Where do we get name tags?
From Stephanie. I have them. So, yeah.
Okay.
If you can send me your address, or I can get it from the city clerk, I can send it through the mail. If you prefer to have a contact list delivery.
I will email you about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
If we don't have anything else on this one, I added B on here for the increasing public engagement. So the reason I just kept this one on here was just kind of seeing what happened at, the meeting last week and kind of having more people, kind of finally actually speaking about this thing. To me, it just got me thinking in my head in terms of increasing public engagement, not to, necessarily purposely look to blame anyone, but in terms of like the topics we talk about, like continuing to be intentional about it and really not shying away. Like if there's something that's on your mind, when it comes to like people that you're talking to in the community and something that they feel passionate about or something a group feels passionate about, like, yeah, let's get it on the agenda, because it seems like that's what's getting people to show up and to come. And if that's going to get more public engagement, then to me, that's highly important, because that's going to help solidify the actual recommendations. That's going to help to build the momentum before facilitators even approved or before they can get out and start doing their planning work, to kind of already have that network there.
I agree with that.
And then the next thing I just have is that it was kind of suggested to me that we kind of look at some of the other city commissions or city groups and what they do, and see if any of us have interest in here and there, like just checking in with them or just kind of establishing like a line of communication of, hey, what is it that your commission does? And just having that information and seeing, all right, what subcommittee might that fall under? And then that subcommittee, not necessarily that you have to take on their work, but at least know that we have a point person in each one that can just reach out like every other week or once a month and just be like, hey, is there anything that you guys are doing that kind of fits what we've had on the last two agendas, or anything that you think we should include on an agenda? Does that give them an opportunity to kind of just present something to us, or us an opportunity to have a few of us go to one of their meetings and kind of just hear that, to just kind of build those relationships, because we're also looking to make sure that we're taking everything that they've done in the past and the present on each of those commissions and have those being recommendations.
In relation to that, this is Commissioner Wangui. Through me, as the coordinator of NISA African Families, being part of the coalition, the Refugee Alliance, Johnson County Refugee Alliance Coalition, the board requested that the TRC, if we put on their agenda, they meet once a month, the last Tuesday of the month at 10 a.m. whether at some point we could be put on their agenda, and so that we talk to them about what we are about and what we are doing. So I don't know whether that's something that can be put on the agenda. So I'm putting it in relation to what Commissioner Triori has just said, in building those alliances and connections with other organizations.
Yeah, and we just want to make sure that the reason I just bring it up that way is also so if we get on their agenda, just to make sure no more than 4 of us go. So it's not some like joint meeting. Because if it's going to be a joint meeting, let's just get them on our agenda. So we don't have to worry about the special meeting aspect. And we can just have it just be one environment and everything already being recorded and available. If they're comfortable with that, at least, just so we have that. But if not, then we want to make sure we're just kind of talking to them like once every few weeks or once a month, just kind of getting an update. But that's something that'll be easier with the facilitator as well. So that's something they'll help to handle, but yeah. Next item is date selection for the work session with City Council. So this one is being added on here just because I wanted to make sure everyone is just aware of the date and time. So Tuesday, August 17th at 4 p.m. is what they have it listed as. So I do know that there needs to be at least 5 of us there, I think, correct?
If it's set up as a joint meeting, yes.
Yeah, so at least 5 of us there. And I do understand that, Tuesday, 4 p.m., like people could have work stuff to do or have other things to do. So if you can't make that or you can't attend, just let it be known if you're comfortable just saying it now, or if you want to just let us know by email so you can talk to the City Council as well to see if, there's maybe another time that we could do that day, or maybe if there's another day they have available that week that more of us can attend. So just so we have at least 5 people there.
This is Commissioner Rivera. I won't be available at all that evening. I would be available the evening of Wednesday, the 18th. But if there are more than 5, then I will definitely let y'all move forward.
I think that we should just move forward with that date. And if people have issues, they could reach out to Stephanie individually, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
So that she can kind of let Commissioner Traore or I know.
And I can just follow up with the email tomorrow to everyone.
I think we should move on to the next agenda item.
The next one is a discussion and vote on changing the meeting schedule from every other Thursday to the first and third Thursdays of each month, or switching to a once a month meeting date. So this one, I don't think, that we are ready for that once a month meeting date. I know it's something I talked about in the past, but definitely with how things have been going lately with all the different groups that we've been corresponding with, definitely looking like we need to keep the twice a month. But also the first and third Thursdays aspect is on there just because that helps with getting a solidified date of when we can actually be in that city building or city area. Because if we just keep it at every other week, there could be a month where there end up being like 3 every other week Thursdays. And that ends up being 3 in that month, and then kind of just makes it lopsided in the next month with how it goes.
And I would just say from a staff standpoint, it would be better understood from the community when you meet, because if you meet every other Thursday, unless they know when you last met, they don't really know. And so at least being able to say they meet the first and third Thursday, that's very specific and very clear.
And does the first and third Thursday work for the city to have a place, or? Okay.
Yes, it does. Yes.
Do we need to make a motion about that, or if we?
I think as long as you are all comfortable moving forward, that there is consensus on changing to a first and third. I don't think you need to have an official vote on that.
Yeah, because I wouldn't want to do a once a month, because then that would turn into a marathon meeting. There would be so many things built up.
I think at least for now, until the facilitator position is filled, we should at least continue. If anyone opposes the first and third Thursday, I think if you want to say something now.
This is Commissioner Dillard. I don't oppose it. I'm just curious if there's ever, is there a possibility in the future we could not do Thursdays? Or if we could do it. different day.
Say that that would probably, you know, if that's the route you're going, maybe agree to at least meet on the 19th of August, I believe. Is that your next meeting?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And by that time, you know, I could send out a doodle to see, you know, what days of the week work best for everyone. I think, you know, trying to figure that out tonight would probably be difficult, but,
Yeah.
and it would just be a generally, you know, are you available on this evening? You know, I realize that things come up and schedules change, but if you want to look at different days, we certainly can. I know, you know, Tuesdays are always going to kind of be problematic, particularly if you go with the first and the second, because that's when city council meets. And I believe if my memory is correct, the school board meets the second and fourth Tuesday generally. And so I guess
Yeah.
Tuesday's probably, you know, just to kind of remain an active group and a group that can participate in other meetings. You might, you know, I guess I probably wouldn't even put Tuesday on a doodle.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well.
To me, it sounds like Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays would be the best days to look at, because in terms of the time that meetings would begin on Fridays, it'd be hard to continue getting public engagement regularly, especially if it's going to be on a Friday night. And as we move into the fall as well, and the winter, and wary of college football season, college basketball season, all the people being in town for that and everything, and that would likely take a lot of people's attention away too. So, and also people that have kids and want to have that weekend with their kids don't want to take any of that time from them.
Jeff, a couple questions for you. If we meet on Mondays, for example, when would the agenda need to be posted?
I mean, technically it could be posted Friday. So I would say by Friday would be pretty much.
All right. And then another question that I have for you is, when you do send out that doodle, I would appreciate it. And if you can also, maybe we can gauge interest in like trying a 6 p.m. meeting
Sure.
on any of those days of the week as well.
Sure.
That was my next question. Could we also look at different times earlier in the evening? So thank you,
Yeah.
Commissioner Rivera.
I'd say to just, if we could look at Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and then in terms of start times, 6, 6:30, and 7.
Could we do 5:30, 6, 6:30, and 7 on the doodle poll?
I can put all of those in.
Okay.
Perfect.
So for now, still meeting 2 weeks from now on the Thursday, and then we should have results of the doodle poll from there and just be able to kind of decide and make that concrete vote.
And I can follow up. I mean, if everybody can fill it out and get it back to me, I can just send a follow-up note to the group that says, you know, basically at this time, it looks like this is the day that a majority of you can meet. And just kind of go from there. And that way it knocks out some of the discussion.
Yeah. I just want to make sure, yeah, as well, if it ends up being the one that the majority is, if someone had a specific reason they couldn't make that date, just so we had that discussion the next time, in case like there's a second one we can fall back to kind of just make it more accommodating. Anyone have anything else that they want to do on or say on this agenda item?
Only one thing, once we decide this is going to be stuck in stone, correct? Meaning it'll be that way from that point on, or is this always fluctuating, or how are we going to do this?
My guess is that remains what it is until, for whatever reason, you know, a majority of the commission says like, hey, there's this specific reason we need to change. But at least having the doodle poll, we kind of have like a set of dates and times we could already look to fall back on and start the next discussion on. But I think it'd kind of stay like this.
Sounds good.
All right. So next we do have commissioner announcements, if anyone has any.
This is Commissioner Dillard again. I do have an announcement. I want to thank everyone that came out to National Night Out this week. It was great to see everyone there, and then also invite the commission or any commissioner that wants to come out to another event this coming Saturday, August 14th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Pheasant Ridge Neighborhood Center. It's going to be a back to school bash and a smaller scale of what we had this past week.
Was that this Saturday or next week on Saturday?
This Saturday.
August 14th, so next Saturday.
What'd you say it was at again?
It'll be Pheasant Ridge Neighborhood Center, so the west side of town.
Okay.
And I can forward the information to Stephanie and have it all sent out.
Yes, please
Thank
do.
you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any announcements?
This is Commissioner Rivera just mentioning, if you hadn't heard, Johnson County expanded general assistance availability to essentially anyone who would have otherwise not applied for that type of assistance because of their immigration status. So that will no longer be asked of the general assistance application. So if you know anyone who is an immigrant and could use a little bit of extra financial support, then you can let them know about that general assistance.
There's nothing that I have in terms of announcements.
Stephanie.
Want me to? Oh, no, I don't have any announcements.
Oh,
So no more commissioner or staff announcements. So with that, I will make a motion to adjourn.
seconded, Commissioner Ollie.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending, and we are done for the night.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.